You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 143. And today, let's take a quantum leap forward in your business. I've got a special guest lined up, and she's going to reveal her proven strategy for creating a multiple seven-figure coaching business. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Hey, are you a thought leader, creative entrepreneur, or change maker and want to magnify your impact, boost influence while creating a financial abundance? Stay tuned for today's inspiring episode with your host, Melanie Benson.
Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, Profit Amplifier for entrepreneurs and online business owners. And today I have a special guest lined up. I've been really excited to air this episode. This guest is nothing short of fantastic and kind and heart-centered and really, really smart when it comes to business. And her techniques are so powerful and all about the inner game, right? But before we get into that, let's talk about inner game, and let's talk about how do we figure out where our inner game may be out of whack with the kind of mindset that will actually deliver a 6, 7, even an 8-figure business. It all starts by knowing what your limiting beliefs, your fears, your limitation paradigm, the stories are that you tell yourself that hold you back. And I put together a free quiz at melaniesquiz.com, and I want you to head over there as soon as you finish this episode and answer the 7 questions so you'll discover if you have any hidden profit drains that are actually working against you. So when you have hidden profit drains, it literally feels like you're working 10 times harder. The things you see other people do so effortlessly don't seem to work for you. You get frustrated. You probably have up and down cash flow. You maybe even spend money on really high-end coaches, but don't get results. And maybe all this time you've been thinking it was all that other stuff. But honestly, if your mindset's not in the right place, if you're not wired for success, then you're wired for frustration, overwhelm, and wasting money through profit drains. So let's turn that around for you today. Head over to melaniesquiz.com. It's a free quiz. And when you take the quiz, and you ask for the results, I will give you a copy of my Rewired for Wealth book as a download to help you start to rewire your thoughts, start to program your brain for higher levels of success. All right, so let's get into today's episode. If you've ever wondered how some people are so massively successful and others, maybe this is you, struggle, feel overwhelmed, and you're wondering, like, how can I break free of this busyness trap? You're going to love today's conversation I'm having with someone I've known for a very long time about quantum success in your business. Now, let me introduce my guest today. My guest is the amazing Christy Whitman. Now, she's a transformational leader, celebrity coach, and the New York Times best-selling author of The Art of Having It All, A Woman's Guide to Unlimited Abundance. Her new book, being released by Enliven, a division of Simon & Schuster, is called Quantum Success, 7 Essential Laws for a Thriving, Joyful, and Prosperous Relationship with Work and Money. And I am so excited to talk with Christy today and go behind the scenes of how this body of work emerged and how it's going to transform not just your business, not just your finances, but your life. So let's dig in. Christy, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, Melanie, I just love and adore you, and I'm so grateful to be here with you. So thanks for having me.
Oh, right back at you, sister. I mean, we've been dancing around this space together for a long time, and
Yes.
I always love when you're bringing a book out because it means we're going to up level not just each other and the people that are reading it, but like I feel like this ripple just kind of happens because as each one of us shift and upgrade our consciousness around money, you know, the people that we're serving do too.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I love the title of your new book, and I'm really curious, like, how we got to quantum success laws. Because I have to be honest, I'm one of those people that when quantum physics was the conversation that came up, my brain just went, right?
Right, yeah.
It's like that's little part of the world where my brain goes, oh yeah, I cannot process it. But I love quantum. I love the energy of quantum shifts and quantum success. How did you come up with quantum success laws?
Well, my business has always been based on the universal laws, and there's 7 essential laws that I talk about that are just absolutely key. That completely transformed my life when I learned about them over 20 years ago. And for me, when I started to apply them, all I could experience was it wasn't like a step-by-step linear approach. I mean, it was as if portals, vortexes opened up, and there was just this massive shifts in consciousness, in manifestations, in things that would come through as far as job opportunities or promotions, or just more and more better, more abundant, more success. And it wasn't like I said, it wasn't step by step linear. It felt exponential. And the only way I could explain it, it was that it was just a huge quantum leap. I mean, like you too, I know principles of quantum physics, but it's more of like the quantum level, meaning energy, meaning unlimited, meaning pure potentiality, never ending, always present, fully flowing, infinite possibilities.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I love this so much because I think these are the conversations that, we would be hanging out and having lunch or an event where we were both at, and we would talk about this, right? But it's not like one of the common conversations out there in the business world. And yet it is it's like, this idea that energy is a currency that's running all the time. It's almost like half the world forgets that this is what makes people successful, is tuning into this frequency, as you call it, right?
Absolutely. So we do know from quantum physics and also modern science that everything is energy. So whether it's material things that have manifested, like the chair I'm sitting on, or the desk that I'm have my computer on, or everything, the walls, everything around me, we have either manifested energy or unmanifested energy. So the energy between my nose and the computer, or the top of my head and the top of my roof in my house, all of that space in between there is also quantum energy. And that energy has a frequency and a vibration. And so lower level frequencies, like fear and doubt and worry and disappointment and frustration, that is energy. But there's also energy that's available, that's excitement and fun and joy and freedom and abundance and success. And we get to, as the co-creative partner dancing with this energy, we get to decide where we're putting our focus on. And if we're focusing on the feeling and the experience of success, we then, by law of attraction, will then manifest that as a continued experience in our outer world. Because we're like energy towers that are sending out signals all day, every day, by the frequencies we send out. And because this is an inclusion-based universe, and it's based on law of attraction, it's based on vibration, what we're sending out by our thoughts, by our perspective, by our emotions, what we say, what we do, behaviors, all that kind of stuff, those vibrations go out to the universe, and they are met with and attracted to similar and like frequencies. And then that becomes what is pulled into our reality and made manifest from this unmanifested energy into manifested energy.
Mm. I love that we explain that. I've not heard that distinction of manifested and unmanifested energy. It makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
So is this different than law of attraction? Like, I know a lot of people are familiar with The Secret. Like, how is this different or the same?
It is the same and yet extended. So I always like to think about, like, if someone learns about law of attraction, it's like going to kindergarten, right? And there's other information that we need to know in order to be masterful. It's like going to kindergarten and expecting yourself to have a master's degree. So someone might know about law of attraction. And what I hear a lot of times is, oh, law of attraction doesn't work for me. It works for other people. Or, I'm frustrated because, I must be doing something wrong. And the truth is that law of attraction really is just like a mirror. It's literally reflecting. I like to think of it as a boomerang. What you, as the energy receiver and generator of your own physical body, what you're sending out, whether you're conscious of it or not, is always bringing to you. It must be this way. It's absolutely law, for universal law for every person, every situation. It's bringing back exactly what we are vibrating in. So law of attraction is working, whether we're aware of it or not. It's like gravity. I mean, you and I aren't sitting here thinking about gravity in order to keep our bodies on the chair that we're sitting in. But gravity is existing whether we're aware of it or not. But it does make sense that if you're hiking up a mountain, or if you're next to a side of a building, or if you're getting older in your adult womanhood, you want to have a push-up bra to help with the gravity, that you know about gravity to help the situation, so you don't fall off the cliff or off the mountain or off the building. So gravity exists whether we're aware of it or not, whether we're thinking about it or not. Our bodies are not flying off into outer space. It's working. And so the same is true with the other universal laws, the law of attraction being one of them, always working all the time. But there are other universal laws that I've been talking about for years, and it is in all of my books and all of my programs and everything that I teach and coach from, because they're essential. That's why I call them the 7 essential laws. And law of attraction is just one of them.
I almost feel like as you're talking, and I love the analogy of kindergarten, right? And we know that, we can go all the way up to grad school, get our PhD in something. I was thinking of it like, that there's this recipe to make souffle, right? and you might even look at the recipe to make a souffle, but until you get in there in the kitchen and really master, which takes practice, the process of making souffle, you may be able to see the recipe, read the recipe, even eat the end product, but until you really embody and master the craft of it, it will feel a bit like a mystery. That's the analogy that was kind of surfacing for me around it.
I love that analogy. I always say that, it's like baking a cake, right? You can, yes. Unless you have the recipe, you will not know how to go. And if you don't know the ingredients that go in the cake, or if you don't know how to make the cake because you don't have a step-by-step formula for doing that or a recipe, then how successful are you going to be? And so, that, and what you said takes it further. It's like, you might see the recipe, you might know the ingredients that go into the recipe, but until you actually go into the kitchen and make the recipe, do something with physical action. And that's what we're required as the physical counterpart to this energy. We need to take action. And that's when we learn things and we apply things and we learn what works and what doesn't. And, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do this instead. I mean, how else do you learn until you get in there and mold the clay to, create what it is that you want?
Yeah. And I think that's probably my experience around it. Like, I grew up in the world of law of attraction and learning all of these mindset related tools, but I didn't embody them, and the people around me hadn't embodied them. But it was not until I was immersed in them that I really started to realize why it never worked until it did, because I had embodied it instead of just understanding it existed out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We create from our consciousness, and being aware of something, that's the first step. I mean, we have to just be aware of it. And good for you that you grew up in that kind of area where, it's like you at least have the awareness of it, but then it's a full body understanding of it and living from that place and really taking action on it, which will give us that consciousness truly. And when we create from our consciousness, when we embody it, that's when it manifests in the outer world.
So well said. And, I want to come back to the focus that you were talking about a minute ago, because I would say about 90% of the coaching I do is helping people focus, right? It's like, we oftentimes think we're focused on the right thing and we're not. And I'm wondering if we could maybe come up with an example or a way in which this power of focus is so important to a business owner or entrepreneur who might be struggling or having non-supportive patterns around money.
Absolutely. So the first thing I would always say to anybody is that when you notice that you are, and this is one of the laws that I'll incorporate here and bring in, because I feel like the law of sufficiency and abundance is a more important law to know, apply, understand than even law of attraction. So when you are feeling bad about anything in your, say, business, let's just focus on business, and you're feeling frustrated, or you're feeling disappointed, or you're feeling pushed down, or you're worrying about something, or you're doubting, all of those are coming from the side of the spectrum that's in lack and limitation. And from that place where it's vibrationally completely so far away from all sufficiency, from abundance, from success, from prosperity consciousness. So the way I like to think of it is as like a spectrum. And when you are coming from lack or limitation of any kind, you are feeling bad. And that bad feeling is because there's a thought process, there's a belief, there's a perspective that's rooted in lack. And the only way out and to shift it is to find a place of sufficiency, to find a place of satisfaction, to find the positive aspects, to learn and look at, what am I learning here? What is it that I'm thinking that created this situation? Or, what emotion am I feeling that is consistently keeping me stuck in this place? And when you can pop over to feeling more sufficient or finding the positive aspects, then you're in that opens a doorway to abundance. And when you're in that space of sufficiency, then you have potential to then find a different energy and frequency for abundance, for things to flow, for things to work out, for opportunities and situations and events that you couldn't even think of to manifest as if by magic. But you can never create that way of flow and that way of manifesting if you're in lack or in limitation. And unfortunately, most people struggle in that place. They look at the problems, not the solutions. They're focused on what they don't want instead of what they do want. So when you are focused in lack or limitation, I always say, ask yourself 3 questions. The first is, what do I want? Because if you're noticing you don't feel good, if you notice you're feeling bad, your mind, your emotions, your part of the essence of your being is focused on what you don't want. So when you start asking yourself the question, what do I want? Then your focus starts to shift. And then to take it a step further, why do you want it? So if you want to have more success in your business, or you want to start putting more money in your bank account, you want to have more clients, whatever it is that you want, why do you want those things? And as you start to think of the why, that starts evoking the energy. And now you're in a different vibrational frequency. You're emitting a different frequency. And therefore, the law of attraction starts bringing you different energies. Because what happens with the law of attraction, when we focus on something and with our mind, we say we don't have enough money. We don't have enough clients. We're afraid that our business is going to fail. That will it'll give off a frequency and energy of lack. And what happens is that it grows bigger and bigger as we spend more time focusing on it. And law of attraction will match that vibration, giving us more circumstances and situations that will continue to be in that pattern of lack and limitation. So we have to deliberately circumvent that and say, okay, what is it that I want? Why do I want it? And when you start listing all the reasons why you want something, because I want to feel free, because I want to experience a bigger bank account so I feel more secure, so I can take that vacation, so I can invest a big chunk of money in my personal growth, so I can invest a big chunk of money in, doing advertising and bringing in more clients and, up leveling my business, whatever the reasons are. Then you're in a different energetic vibration. And now law of attraction is starting to match that new vibration. And then the third question is, well, what's the end all being feeling? What's the essence of it? So what do I want? Why do I want it? How am I going to feel once I have this? Because the thing with most people and the way we're trained as humans, which is totally, completely opposite of how energy actually works, is we think, well, when I get that promotion, when my business hits this amount of money, when I can have this amount of money in the bank, when this thing happens, then I'll feel. And we're assigning our emotions outside of ourselves. We're assigning our whole energetic feeling and experience outside of ourselves. So we're postponing the joy, the freedom, the success, the prosperity, all that when this thing happens. And what happens, and I'm sure you've had the experience, Melanie, where you say, ooh, when I become this, or when I have that, or when I do this, then I'm going to feel. And you do that and you're like, that didn't do it. I remember feeling, I wrote about that in Quantum Success. I remember feeling like, when I become a New York Times bestselling author, wow. I mean, what is going to do for my life, what it's going to do for my business. I mean, I don't know if I thought a parade was going to come through my house or what, but I remember
Oprah lands in your front yard.
Right? She's knocking on my door. But when I got the news for one of my first books, Taming Your Alpha Bitch, and I got the news from my literary agent. She said, congratulations, you're a New York Times bestselling author. And I remember being at the mall with my kids, and they were babies. They were in a two-seater stroller. And I reached down to my kids and I was like, Mommy's a New York Times bestselling author. And of course they were looking at me like, okay. And, and one punched the other in the face. It was like, they didn't care. It was like nothing changed for them. They didn't love me anymore. They didn't even understand what that meant. And it was like, after I got off the, woo, I did it. It was like, now what? Because I thought that was going to be the thing that finally made me feel abundant, or finally made me feel successful or credible or whatever it was. And so it was like, oh, maybe it's not that, maybe it's something else. And so we keep pushing it outside of ourselves. If maybe I get more people on my email list, or maybe if I have a bigger launch, or I get a second New York Times bestselling book, or I do this, making it bigger and bigger, thinking it's, well, maybe it's not making 100 grand a year. Maybe it's making $1 million a year, or maybe it's making $500,000 a year. And we're keep on pushing it outside of ourselves, never to be in the place of fulfillment. And what we need to understand is that if you're coming from lack and thinking that something needs to happen in order for you to be fulfilled, you're always in a place of lack. And the thing the feeling essence that you want, even when you accomplish something, you'll still feel empty in having it. So the key is feel the fulfillment now. Feel the freedom, feel the success, feel the enjoyment, feel the prosperity, feel whatever it is now, and then get excited for that thing to manifest. And it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, that is, it is so simple and yet so profoundly interwoven with all of the human being not enoughness, isn't it?
It is.
It's profoundly simple in the ideology, just like, oh yeah, just focus on what I do want, like feel the feelings of it already being real. And yet, like putting that into practice, it takes practice.
It does. It does. And it is, you mentioned a word, it's so simple, yet it totally goes against how most of us are trained, how most people in the media and in movies and in TV shows and everything that we see in social media and everything that we see in our world, it talks about how the effect is the cause, not the cause being the cause. Meaning, if I make more money, that will be the cause of my happiness. No, that's just the effect of whatever you're vibrating. I once saw a t-shirt. It was so perfect. It said, money can't buy you happiness, but it can get your butt on the boat, and the rest is up to you.
I love that. So good.
So true.
Well, and I feel like this is a perfect segue to something else I want to ask you about, because I've heard you talk about it. I know it's in your book. It's this distinction between motivated action and inspired action. Because I talk about taking inspired action all the time, and I think it's so important to understand the distinction here. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So motivation is something that you have to kind of raw yourself to do, right? It's like, okay, come on, get up there. Let's do it. It's an external thing that needs to get us moving. As far as, say if you wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, get your butt out of bed. Come on. You're going to feel better. It's going to be this so much better for you. You're going to feel less stress. You're going to, you're going to look better. You're going to lose that weight. You're rah-rahing yourself, even as you're in bed, trying to motivate yourself to get up and go out and do it. Inspired action is that you're coming from a place of energetically feeling healthy and feeling in well-being. And it's just not even questioned. The alarm goes off and you just get up without the questioning of should I, shouldn't I? It's just, of course, I'm going to the gym because it makes me feel good. And because I enjoy it and I know I'm going to relieve stress. Or, okay, I've got to write this chapter in my book. All right, got to find the time. Okay, just stop being lazy and start doing it. And you know that you'll feel better. And once you get the book published, this is going to happen. And it's a very motivation, but it's external. It's like you have to talk yourself into doing something. Whereas inspiration, it's like you cannot not do it. It comes from a energetic flow inside of you where it's like you find yourself at your computer writing the next paragraph or chapter in the book, or you find yourself with a notebook and having that just download of information, coming out through the pen, where you're just feeling so inspired that you got to do something with this alignment. You got to do something with that energy. So inspiration comes from within, and it's a connection with being aligned with something bigger, with more potentiality, with the flow of all good things. Whereas external motivation, not that that's bad, but is a, come on, you can do it. Rah, rah. This is what's going to happen. Here's the consequence. Here's the reward. It's that carrot kind of thing. And then we get ourselves to do it rather than just doing it because we want to, we feel inspired to.
Yeah, I love your examples of the two. And it's like I can see so many people in the, okay, I'm shooting myself to try and get that motivation to take that action that I don't want to take. And how there's some things they can't stop themselves from doing because there's so much inspiration. And I guess the question I'm wondering, someone's probably going to ask about this is, what if the things that someone's inspired to do are not the things that are helping them grow their business financially or in the impact, like they're inspired to do the things that are not necessarily growing the business?
Yeah. So, I mean, when the thing I always talk about, and I find is just really the answer to all of it really is when you align yourself with pure potentiality. That's one of the universal laws. When you align yourself with abundance and you're really in that good feeling place, you're going to be inspired to do something, and say that it's like painting something or baking a cake or a souffle, like we said. No, that thing won't actually create a result in your business, but what if you enjoy doing it? We really have a value based on play and fun. And when we feel more aligned with play and fun and enjoyment, it seeps into every part of our lives, including our business, including our money. And so if no, you can't do that because it's not part of your business plan, and baking a cake right now is not going to lead you to your goal, we're cutting ourselves off from the flow of inspiration and the flow of fun. If it's like, yeah, take the day off and don't do the work that you're responsible for doing, that's one thing. But and making sure that you're on task to do those things, right? It's not about just alignment, it's about alignment and momentum, taking the action steps that you need. But we really do have to follow that flow of inspiration if it leads to feeling good, because then that will seep into other aspects of our lives.
I so agree. Especially if you're, I talk a lot about burnout and, because I've had my bouts with burnout and exhaustion. And I think sometimes when you have been pushing yourself and you've been growing and evolving and you've had a very full plate, the thing that you're inspired to do may have absolutely nothing to do with business, but it may be the very thing that lights your fire again and gets that creativity flowing. Absolutely. So I'm so glad you brought that into the book and, are holding space for people to really trust that inspired action.
Thank you.
I want to talk about one more thing. And I absolutely, I love your book so much. I got to read a galley copy, an early copy of it. And it was just really exquisite and so many great golden gems. I learned a lot. And I feel like I've studied this so much and I learned more new things from your book. So it was it's very well written. But I want to talk about this piece because I think this happens so much with entrepreneurs. A lot of people, a lot of mentors, a lot of consultants, and there's a lot of noise out there about you need to have like a 5-year plan, or you need to have like a 10-year vision, or you need to know what your legacy is. And you talk about it differently, and that because most of us as creative beings are changing and evolving, and we're constantly having these new ideas and these new visions. And I think right now, especially, so many of us are being upgraded at the DNA level, and the person we thought we were going to be is not the person we're becoming, right? Like we are just rapidly shifting all the time.
Yes.
Talk to me about, or talk to us, I know my listener wants to hear this too, how do we like kind of balance that kind of like, I want to know where I'm going, but I'm constantly rapidly shifting?
Well, it's a both and approach, honestly. It's having a vision. It's having the vision with breaking it down like I write in Quantum Success. You've got this big vision of what you want for your business. That's the essence, that's the impact, it's all the different reasons. It's your why. It's your why you want to do what you want to do and why you want to have the success that you have. And then have that big vision of how it's grounded. So instead of be like, oh, I want to speak all over the world, right? To have the mind hold on to a vision like over the world. It's like, okay, so there's an airplane going around the earth. It's not something that can be solidified and created as real. The mind needs an actual picture. So maybe it's you speaking in Greece at the Parthenon, or maybe it's you speaking in San Francisco somewhere, or you're speaking in Mumbai, or, you know, you're on a stage with thousands of people, just as an example, right? And it's a grounded picture of what your business is like and how you're doing your business. Or, you know, maybe you're working with groups of corporate people and you've got all these high level executives, or you've got celebrities that you're working with, or whatever the picture is, but it's a very grounded, solidified vision. And then you've got goals towards how do you meet that vision, thinking with the end in mind. What are the things that you have to take, the action steps that you need to take? And then as you are, because when we put out an intention or a goal, it's at a different vibration than we are currently. And so from a larger spiritual perspective, from an energetic perspective, it's really not about the end goal for that energetic part of us. It's more of who we become in the process of attaining that goal. And so us as the personality, we want the goods, we want the promotion, we want the money in the bank, we want the guy, we want the whatever it is, right? So there's two parts to the personality desire and then the energetic desire. So whenever you create a goal, who you become in the process of moving towards that goal and releasing the blocks and releasing the places where you're not conscious or unconscious, and you rise to that level of vibration, it's who you become in the process. But we need to also stay very, very open and detached from the forms. Because when people get okay, it has to look like this is the goal, this is the avenue, it doesn't allow in for all the, millions of possibilities and avenues and ways that infinite intelligence can come through. So that's why it's good to have a goal and know what the action is to take, but to be able to hold the space of the why, the essence of what you want. Because if we're attached to one specific form, we're limiting the unlimited. And another way of saying it is like if one person's like, oh, I want great love in my life, and it's that person. It's only that person that I will allow to love me, and that's the only person I will myself to love. But there are billions of people on the planet, and there's billions of opportunities for love. And so if you're holding it that you will only allow yourself to give and receive love in a romantic way to this one person, this person's married and unavailable and doesn't feel that way about you, then you've closed yourself off. But what about loving the neighbor down the street or your best friend or your dog and allowing that energy to flow in and out of you? You're allowed to exude love and receive love in myriad of forms, but don't narrow it just to one thing and get so myopic in that one thing that you're closing yourself off and you're so attached to that you're not allowing the flow of infinite potential.
Yeah, I guess I always thought of that as like being willing to get unattached to the way it looks as it's manifested versus, like I think it's super easy to get locked in, as you're saying, that myopic lock in on, okay, it's that. I had the most profound lesson around that. Well, multiple of those, but one pivotal one back in my corporate days where I had my heart set on this promotion and I did all the right things. And I knew I was a perfect candidate for it. And I was crushed when I didn't get it. But you know what was so interesting, Christy, and I'm sure you tell millions of stories about this. On the other side of it, 6 months later, I saw all the people that got the promotion and got on that project. They were miserable. And it was in that moment I realized that, like, if you can unattach to the way in which something looks and know that, sometimes things are unfolding that you cannot see to get you what you want. What I realized was I would have been miserable if I had gotten that promotion, but not getting it opened up a path to learn about coaching that I would have missed.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the laws, the law of detachment. So you have that vision, but the who, the what, the where, the how, all of that stuff, you have to be open and allowing with that and to be flexible. And, I always say, be a dog with a bone with your vision and with your why and the feeling that you want to be or you want to have or you want to do, but be open to the road turning. Because like you're saying, the universe has a bird's eye view of your life that you cannot see from the place that you're at, because you're in your life. You can't see the forest through the trees sometimes, right? You've got that tunnel vision instead of that total absolute bird's eye view. And sometimes there's so many other, there's a song, but I don't know why I'm bringing this up, a song by Garth Brooks, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. It's that thing of, I was praying so hard for this. I wanted this so bad. And then after the fact, you're like, oh God, thanks. But I'm so glad I didn't have that or didn't get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to let go of the life you thought you wanted to have the life you were meant for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a couple more questions, but before we move on, I just want to make sure people know how they can get their hands on your book and get it in their, be able to read all the laws and take in this powerful quantum training really in the book to shift their own life.
Awesome. Love to. Well, for a very limited time, because I've had it up there for a while, I'm going to give everybody a free copy of the book. They just have to take care of the shipping and the handling. And so you can go to quantumsuccessbook.com. That probably will be shifting. It'll be the same website, but the offer will be shifting within the next month or so. So it's quantumsuccessbook.com. Just, it's a hardback book. It's not an ebook, and it'll be delivered to your door. You just take care of the shipping and I will get it out to you.
I love that. I did not anticipate it was going to be free. So thank you for that gift on behalf of all of our listeners here. Now, I didn't think to ask you this before, but is there an audio version that you're going to create at some point? I know so many people like to listen to audiobooks.
I already have the audio. I went into a room for 2 days and recorded it myself. So
and
yes.
How do people get that if they wanted the audio version?
Anywhere, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Amazon, any of the places that they sell.
Excellent. Well, I know the next book I'm getting on Audible because that's where I listen to most of my books.
Love it.
As we wrap up here, I like to ask you about bold, because bold, different language in your book, but bold to me embodies a lot of what you teach. And, sometimes we have to be willing to stay locked into the feeling of what we want, this big thing we want to create, but let go of how we get there. What was the boldest thing you had to do to let go or to achieve what you've achieved so far in your business?
Really letting go and being honest. I'm a very loyal person. And so just in the last year, I had to let go of 3 people in my business that were high salaried. And when I would have different interactions with them, just didn't feel that good. And even though I didn't know the how of how their positions would be replaced or what that would do with the team, it just kept coming back to that was the right decision to do. And once I did, I felt a huge sense of relief. My business completely up-leveled. The team that I have now is way more cohesive. Things that I was finding out after the fact of letting them go of, different things that were being said. It was just a relief for everybody that they were gone, and it made it much easier on the business because those big salaries were gone. And I was amazed at how easy it was to function without them. And, when making that decision, it was a big decision, and it was just one of the greatest decisions I made.
I love that you shared that, because I think when you have a team and you rely on your team, there's something quite terrifying about changing the team, and you really have to trust and trust those vibrations. And I've had to do that where I've had to let people go, where I'm like, this isn't working and I don't even know how I'm going to make it work without you, but I have to let you go.
Yes.
That's powerful. I love it. I'm so grateful that you've joined me on the podcast today. And there's just so many things I want to ask you about, because we could do like a whole course, which I'm sure you have entire courses around all this. But I want to really, just from my heart, invite you to get a copy of Christy's book. She teaches things that whether, you've mastered this or you're just in kindergarten opening the door to this idea of law of attraction and learning, the energy side of success. I have to say there are certain things that have propelled me the farthest, the fastest, and learning how to shift my own relationship to my own energy and my own ability to manifest, my own ability to align, inspired action. It has transformed who I am. It's transformed my happiness and my financial prosperity. And, this is one of the books I highly recommend. So grab a copy of it at quantumsuccessbook.com. I'll also have the link in the show notes if you want to pop over there, and maybe we'll inspire Christy to join us in some other places in the near future and go a little bit deeper into this amazing ideas around quantum success. So Christy, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Melanie. And yes, I would love to in the future, anytime. I love connecting with you, and I appreciate you allowing me to share what's important to me and how what's changed my life, so that I can get that message out so more people can be impacted and be able to apply this in their life too. So thank you.
Yes, I love it. All right, more soon. Stay tuned. We've got some more amazing episodes of the Amplify Your Success podcast coming your way. This is Melanie Benson, your host. Thanks so much for listening in today. If you want to catch up on any of the show notes and circle back on any of the resources we shared in today's show, head on over to the show page at amplifyyoursuccesspodcast.com. And remember, you amplify your results faster when you're in a community of other people who are moving and shaking. Join us at amplifyyoursuccesscommunity.com. One last thing. When you've gained insight from today's episode, help us share that and inspire other people by heading over to iTunes, subscribing, and give it a review. iTunes absolutely loves seeing these reviews pop up, and it actually helps boost my show's visibility. So I would be super grateful for your reviews. And as always, I love seeing your shares of these episodes on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come find me over there. Tag me in your shares. I'll give you some social media love right back. So see you next week for another inspiring episode of Amplify Your Success Podcast.